The Earl Grey Monument is a focal point in the centre of Newcastle. South from here is Grey Street, architecturally regarded as one of the finest streets in the north of England. It houses the Theatre Royal and entrances to the Central Arcade. Grey Street was built by John Dobson and Richard Granger in the 1830s. After the junction with Mosley Street, it continues as Dean Street down to the River Tyne. Turning right into Mosley Street, we come to St Nicholas's Cathedral, named after St Nicholas, the patron saint of sailors and boats. It became a cathedral in 1882, when the Diocese of Newcastle was created by Queen Victoria. The lantern roof of the cathedral tower is another focal point in the city. Down the road from the cathedral is the castle. It was built by the Normans as a new castle on a former Roman settlement. It was this new castle that gave the city its name. Black Gate is separated from the castle keep by the main railway line heading into Central Station. In Roman times, this site would overlook Pons Aelius, the bridge over the River Tyne bearing Hadrian's surname. I see he's left his van here again. The River Tyne has been a great asset in the development of Tyneside as a port and industrial region, but the river has also been an obstacle to north-south communications, and as such it had to be bridged. A medieval bridge was swept away by high floods. A Georgian bridge opened in 1781 on the site of the old Roman bridge was not very popular. The low archways acted as a barrier to shipping. These are the present links between Newcastle and Gateshead. At this point, the river flows through a narrow gorge, and for many years there was a plan to build a high-level bridge. The coming of the railways prompted the building of the so-called high-level bridge. It was designed by Robert Stephenson and built between 1847 and 1849. The high-level bridge is both a road and railway bridge. It spans 13 feet of river valley, including 512 feet across water. The bridge was closed in 2005 for essential maintenance and only opened again in June 2008. Two-way traffic in earlier times, but now it operates only in a southbound direction, carrying buses and taxis. North and southbound pedestrian traffic is permitted. Its solid Victorian foundations have certainly withstood the test of time. The swing bridge is the fourth bridge to occupy this same site. It was designed by William George Armstrong. The machinery installed by Armstrong is still operating today. Down the steep incline on the south side of the river to the low-level road crossing of the Tyne. From this point a view of the castle and the cathedral, and 1,000 years later St James's Park. The King Edward VII Bridge was built at the beginning of the 20th century. Rail traffic was increasing, and the inconvenience of trains having to reverse in and out of the central station to continue their journey north could no longer be tolerated. Consequently, the bridge was built for the North Eastern Railway Company. Work commenced in 1902, and the bridge was opened by King Edward VII in 1906. Massive steel lattice girders carry 4 railway tracks. It is supported by these 3 granite piers. And the suggestion is that it is the most solid-looking bridge on the Tyne. Looking upwards from the quayside walk certainly confirms this. Downstream from here is the Tyne Bridge, 80 years old in October this year. Architecturally, it is described as a compression arch suspended deck bridge. It was built by Dorman and Long and Company of Middlesbrough, officially opened by King George V and Queen Mary on October the 10th, 1928. The Tyne Bridge's 4 towers were built of Cornish granite and were designed as warehouses with 5 stories. However, the floors were never completed and possible storage areas never used. Lifts for passengers and goods were installed to provide access to the quayside, but they are no longer in use. When the bridge opened, it carried the A1 road, but since the opening of the western bypass, the road which goes directly into the centre of the city is now the A167. Nowadays the towers are sort of high-rise apartments for colonies of kittiwake gulls. Certainly rooms with a view. The Redheugh Road Bridge is the third to be built on this site. The two supporting concrete piers were fluted to create an impression of lightness. The first of the three bridges was built in 1860. And the second in 1897. Work to replace the second bridge began in 1980 and it was opened in 1983. This third bridge is very different. It is a pre-stressed concrete structure with a central span of 160 metres and two side spans of 100 metres. Its total length is 897 metres and it is 15.8 metres wide. This blue structure is the Queen Elizabeth II bridge. It carries the Tyne and Wear metro over the Tyne from Newcastle to Gateshead. The line is in a tunnel on either side of the river and only emerges into open air to cross the bridge. It was developed as part of the Tyne and Wear metro system for which it was purpose-built. This is bridge number 6, just downstream from the Edward VII bridge. In 1991, North East engineers recognised these 6 bridges as symbols of Tyneside. Then, at the turn of this century, in came the Gateshead Millennium Bridge, the world's first and only tilting bridge. Nicknamed the Winking Eye or Blinking Eye, it was fabricated in Wallsend and lifted into place in one piece by Asian Hercules II, one of the world's largest floating cranes. The Millennium Bridge is already a significant tourist attraction. It opens periodically for shipping and sightseers, and for major events such as the Cutty Sark Tall Ships Race. A hooter sounds to clear the bridge, and then the operation takes about 4.5 minutes until it is fully open. It cleans up its own litter. Anything dropped on the deck automatically rolls into special traps at each end of the bridge every time it opens. The bridge stretches 126 metres across the Tyne, and the top arch stands 50 metres high when in its upright position. The Millennium Bridge adds to what must be one of the finest urban landscapes in the country. And so ends the story of 7 bridges to cross between Newcastle and Gateshead.